So this is going to be a different set of Batman videos. It's going to be about different time periods, what Batman was like during these time periods, very briefly what this time period was like, how this time period affected the comics of the time, and so on. It's going to be a very, short-ish introduction video, and we're going to be starting with the 30s, so very short. So the 1930s. It's when, the First World War had ended, and it's the time of the Great Depression, one of our most darkest hours. A lot of people homeless, without jobs, people living in tents and big lots, a lot of people hungry and desperate. Those who are, do have a place to live are living in have like a large family in a small apartment in a large complex, so everybody's jam-packed together in this large building. And this is also a time period of our earliest comic book creators. So let's take note here that a lot of them were Jewish. Because at the time period, comic book creation was not a high job, not like it is today, not a high priority. And so it's one of the few jobs Jews could get at the time period. So it's not surprising, the Superman, Batman, a lot of other comic book creations are created by Jews, because it's the job that they could get at the time. So again, it's time of great need, and a great need for heroes. And we get the genesis of superheroes and the birth of Superman. June 1938 is the birth of Superman, more or less. He had a slow start, but that's another subject. Anyways, it's the birth of Superman, June 1938, Comics 39, and it's also the birth of Batman, but we'll get that in a second. So we get the birth of Superman and the birth of a whole genre of superheroes. Superman is the very first superhero, and this is, one of the things I like about him, that he was the first, and he started this whole genre, this whole idea of, a hero in disguise and secretly saving people. And, let's take note of what Superman was like during this time period. That he's, a dream character. He's solving all our problems. What is he doing? He's fighting warmongers. He's fighting bosses who aren't fair to their workers. So, it's of its time period. He's a little rough around the edges. The same thing can be said for early Batman comics. Batman started out in May 1939. Superman was a success, so we want another creation. Bob Kane, Bill Finger, they work together. Bob Kane comes up with the idea of a Batman. Bill Finger, helps perfect the idea. Yes, Bob Kane created Batman, but let's not forget that Bill Finger had as much to do with creation of Batman as anything. Batman is of its time period. This is a time period where he is also rough around the edges. Some people don't entirely like this. Because again, this is Batman who, in the war against crime, takes no prisoners. And so people don't entirely like this because they prefer a Batman who does not kill and never would. But, let's remember again the time period. This is how the heroes are depicted of this time period. I am a little more accepting of this because I accept that there are different versions of characters. So, Batman is coming of the genre of Zorro, the Shadow, other heroes who fight, and would kill someone. The Shadow carries guns, Zorro with his blade, taking down people. Stuff like that, and Batman is of that genre, of the masked hero, fighting injustice. This is something that is not new, really, because again, Zorro, excuse me, the Shadow, even, the Scarlet Pimpernel, this idea that some rich millionaire is pretending to be a fop, but secretly he takes down a disguise and goes out and fights injustice, whatever that injustice is. Zorro fighting against a tyrant who's, running down a village or his hometown or what have you. The Shadow going out and fighting criminals, and the Scarlet Pimpernel fighting the French Revolution. So Batman is of that time period. He's a time period of Pulp Fiction characters. So it's no wonder that Batman is darker than Superman. It's no wonder that Batman of this time period would take a life. Because that's what the heroes were like during this time period. Because again, it's a time of desperate need, and a time that people want their problems solved. They want someone to come along and solve the problems. It doesn't, to them, it's okay that it's a little rough, because they're living rough lives. We're suffering from injustice because we're poor. We need someone to help us. We're suffering from criminals who are taking advantage of us. So there's this need of someone come solve this problem. It's okay if you beat them up or kill them, whatever. Because, this is idea very resonant to them. And, because again, this is a sort of, I guess, European idea that, say Kaiser Sose, that a revenge character doesn't just kill, the mob, it kills everyone associated to the mob. It's very much of that mindset. So it's important to understand what the 30s was like, to understand why Batman is the way he is during this time period. He had only, a few issues, in the 1939 era. But, it's important to understand, this was a dark time, so Batman was a very darker character. That he would fight a criminal and send the criminal, off a rooftop, and the criminal would fall to his death. That in one instance, a criminal sets a trap for Batman, and these guys, they want to shoot him, but Batman turns the tables, takes one of the guns in his hand, and says, okay, who set this trap? I want to know. One of the criminals replies, if we can't tell you that because he'll kill us. Batman says, tell me or I will kill you. And he darn well means it. Again, in the war against crime, he's not taking any prisoners. So, and again, this is, resonant of the Pulp Fiction of the time. Bob Kane's art is very much of the film noir genre. Dark shadows, Batman himself being a dark, shadowy character. And, so there's elements of that. And so these early comics is, again, Batman, he's not fighting with the law. He's kind of against the law, police want to catch him because, he's a vigilante. They want to stop him doing what he's doing. So at times they will chase Batman, and so this is the one of the instances of the very first issue. What we get is we're introduced to Bruce Wayne, who seems, just a very idle rich boy. He doesn't seem like anything, and of course it's revealed at the end of the issue he's Batman. And, one of Bruce Wayne's friends is James Gordon. And this is the first time we get this character, who is still resident today. So we get these two elements that start off and have continued to today. You know, we get Batman and we get James Gordon. You know, and at the time period, what the element is that Bruce Wayne is friends with James Gordon. He'll at times have dinner with him, idle conversations. You know, Gordon, what's going on today? And Gordon, being good friends with him, even taking him to a crime scene in the first issue. I don't think, this is probably stretching things a bit, but I don't know a lot about this time period of whether or not this would really have gone on or not. But anyways, that's another conversation entirely. But anyways, Gordon is friends with Bruce Wayne, but he wants to stop Batman. He wants to catch him. So there's this, these elements set out early on that on the one hand, Gordon is friends with Bruce Wayne, not knowing the secret. And then on the other hand, there's Batman off fighting crime, and Gordon wants to catch him. Just as, Clark Kent likes Lois Lane, but Lois Lane likes Superman. We get this sort of parallel type of thing very early on. And this will change later on, but, this is what it is during this time period. So again, just to sum up, 1930s, dark hour, so a need for, heroes that aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. So Batman, Superman, they take the law in their own hands, because there's a need for this at this time period. So it's very important to remember this when looking at Batman of this time period, that we need a hero that will get his hands dirty and isn't afraid to take justice into his own hands. So, that's what the comics are like, and it carries on later on during the 40s. But anyways, that's just briefly about the 1930s and just introduction of what's going to be a series of videos of what Batman is like during various time periods.